Hi, I'm Dave from Hardy Scale Models, and this is the first part of my V Project 2023, where I'm going to build all three Airfix V bomber kits, starting with this one, which is the Vickers Valiant in 1/72 scale. So just having a quick look at the kit to start with, which was first tooled in 2011 and re-released in 2021, I apologise. And what we have here is the stencil sheet, and what I'll be doing, as I've previously mentioned if you saw the other video, was all three of the V-Bomber kits in anti-flash white and trying to make a diorama out of them. So there's two schemes available with the kit. There's the original all silver scheme, and this is the white scheme, the anti-flash white scheme that I'll be going for, which is what the aircraft was given once it was assigned to nuclear bombing duties, and that one's from an Operation Grapple, which was in the 1950s. Instruction booklet, very standard Airfix instruction booklet. Had a look through this. I'm not going to go through this and read out all the different bits and pieces here because nobody wants to see that really, but there isn't a huge amount to this kit. It's quite straightforward. It's just big, obviously because it's a bomb iron. It's in 1/72 scale, but it is fairly straightforward. There's not a lot to add on. I'll be probably building this with the bomb doors closed, so yeah, it's fairly straightforward, so shouldn't pose any problems. And the decals that you can see are the cartograph ones, so if anything to go by with other Airfix ones that I've used, they should be excellent. So wanted to make a start on the kit by just getting obviously the cockpit ready as you do, so got the decals ready for that, and I've also bought this small bomb trolley just to add to the diorama. So making a start on the kit, getting all the pieces off the sprue. Some fiddly little parts where you got to be careful with the clippers, obviously. For really small parts I tend to use a knife, but these are sort of large enough to use the snippers on. I think that's the crew access ladder you can see there. So basically want to get all the pieces off the sprues for the cockpit, get them all primed, and then start the build. So off camera, I've primed up all the parts, and then I've sort of added the green colour for the control desk for the three other crew. And when I say I did this off camera, what it means is I actually forgot to press record on my camera, so never mind, but it's green, there you go. Everyone can see that. And then the front part of the cockpit is the pilot area, so that is all black. I'm not using flat black for this, I'm using NATO black. Flat black, just stupid thing, it's too black, it doesn't look quite right, so I've gone with NATO black, and I'm going to be doing some dry brushing on that just to add a bit of an effect, dirty the floors up, that sort of thing. And then moving on to some of the smaller parts like the seats. There's 5 seats, pilot, co-pilot and 3 crew. Slightly different designs on the crew and the pilot seats, and then we have the crew access ladder, well, it's the pilot access ladder which goes up the top deck, and that is just bog standard yellow. The decals in the crew area, it's one large decal which goes onto the control desk, and these are, like I said earlier, cartograph decals from Airfix. They're really high standard. They're not too thick, they're going very well, they come off really easily. So using microset and microsol, had no problems here at all. They go down really easy, and then just using a cotton bud just to make it sink into shape. And then finally just adding in the 4 decals into the cockpit area. And now I can start to assemble the cockpit. So the flight deck access ladder going in there, really straightforward, just plug straight in. And now painting the seats with Humbrol leather matte paint. Did a bit of research on the colour of the seats and stuff, and it doesn't quite match up with what is on the instructions, so I've gone with what I could find online. And for the seat belts, I'm using the buff colour from Tamiya, which is another one of the XF paints. Tend to use Tamiya paints where I can, just got used to them, like them, but when I'm using metallic paints I tend to use some different brands. I mainly use the Tamiya metal paints for dry brushing and things like that. And now I'm using Tamiya's pan line wash, the brown one, for the seats and the upholstery, just to bring out some of the details. Absolutely love this stuff. It's really easy to use. Only thing you got to remember is if you're going to use this and then try to wipe it away, to leave it in recess and things, you must use a clear coat first, otherwise it'll just take your paint off, because you've got to remove it with enamel thinners or white spirit. But yeah, I'll use this stuff all the time for everything. It's really, really good. So just bringing out the details on the seats. Okay, so starting the dry brushing now. So basically load a paintbrush, which is an old cut down paintbrush, with paint, wipe off almost all of it until it's almost all gone, almost dry, and then you just very lightly drag it across any surfaces you want to emphasize or make stand out, pop out. So just going around areas where they'll be touched by the crew quite often, or like the edges of seats, across the floor, on the ladder, just to make like the paint's coming off, and I'll put a bit of dirt on there as well. But yeah, just anything that the crew would be in contact with quite a lot is where you're sort of putting this stuff in. So on the seats, obviously where the legs are going to sit on the top of the armrests there, around the top of the seat where they maybe grab a hold of it when they're getting in and out of it, because obviously these aircraft were well used. So just adding it on, and it's personal preference. Put on totally random, as much as you like, as little as you like, totally up to you. Okay, so when I checked the reference photos for the aircraft, I noticed that the panel desk here isn't all green. It's a sort of a brown leathery consistency, and it also had some metal trim around it. So just taped it off and added a little bit of trim to this, just to make it again stand out a bit more realistic, a bit more in conjunction with what the aircraft actually did look like. And now that I've dry brushed everything, I'm starting to add in the final components for the cockpit. So the control yokes, which I've painted up in black and again leather, they go in next. Again, in the instructions it said black, but I've gone with leather because again that was what was appearing in the photographs when I've been looking at it. And then it's a case of starting to assemble the seats. Pilot seats first, got those in. There's a guide on the bottom of on the floor of the aircraft to put these in, but it's not very obvious. It's obvious, but it's not very. It doesn't stand out very much. So you've got to sort of persevere to get that seat to stick. It doesn't grip very well, but once you've got it in, it's fine. It'll just dry very quickly. And then start adding all the crew seats, which go in the back, all three. I actually found it, in hindsight, would have put the middle one in first because I've got quite big hands. But once the cockpit is complete, I'm just doing a quick dry fit here to make sure I've got it all lined up properly so it'll fit into the fuselage. And then these are the final images of the cockpit, which will now be put on one side, and I'll start on the fuselage in the next couple of days. And that is the end of part 1 of the Valiant build. So part 2 will be coming soon, which will look at the fuselage and putting that all together. So if you'd like to see that, or if you enjoyed this video, please think about having a subscribe to the channel, click on the like button, and that'll really help the channel out. And yeah, I hope you join me for the next episode. Thanks for your time. Bye now.